It seemed as though we sat for hours eating. The food was so good I had overeaten by many portions. People came and went with dishes, some hot, some cold, but all delicious. I did notice some plates taken to a room off to the side. The king noticed, leaning over past Colt, whispering to me, "That is for your sister Dita. She has troubles getting around, so we take the food to her." "I'd like to meet her if that would be all right." The king looked that direction, wiping his hands. "Well then, I shall escort you there myself. Anything for the future queen of the realm." Colt stood as well to follow, as the king took my hand and started walking in the direction that the plates of food had went, with me by his side. In the direction of the door he turned slightly, smiling warmly to Colt. "Son, she is safe in my hands. Please allow me to do this for her eyes alone just for now." Colt stopped instantly, then looked to me, but the king spoke again. "We will be but feet away. If she needs you, she may call for you." He still looked to me, and I nodded. The king looked to everyone seated. "Oh yes, dinner is done with. My children of the kingdom, please have a peaceful afternoon and night." With that, everyone started back to their own places and duties. Colt just held still, looking our direction. The king led to the door, and a man who seemed to be guarding it opened the door as the king passed. He spoke to him. "If my son comes, let him come. He is your prince." The man nodded and shut the door behind us. The room was large and dark. "We cannot give her candles. She has more than once nearly burned the kingdom." The room smelled strange with a mustiness, and there were platters thrown here and there. Of the food that was just given out on the floor, there was just enough light left for my eyes to settle into seeing. Into the dark of the darkness, a figure came like a shadow running toward the king. There was no fear in the king's eyes, just love. As I looked to him for direction, he just let go of my hand and opened his arms. A short, grunting figure, plump to say the least, nearly naked, only torn clothes covered few important parts. Her hair in one large nest of red, the grunting was frantic as she clawed at the king. With dirty hands marking his clean white shirt, slowly from his pocket he pulled out a bag of marshmallows. Nearly like a dog, she sat placing her hand out. Soon as he placed one in her grasp, she smushed it into her mouth. "Good girl, Dita." Then he looked to me. "She's a good girl, but she can be a little impatient for her candies. But perhaps you can also see why I thought it best if you meet her first. I didn't want you to feel as though some dignity is lost, knowing she is the way she is, and to some degree, she is part of you. Perhaps more than the others, but only time will tell. My daughter told me of your age." Then he handed her another piece and patted her head as she scarfed it down. "Time for bed, Dita." She jumped up and went to a mattress, grabbing a blanket and a toy, rocking slightly. "Has she always been this way?" I asked. "Yes, I've had many come to her to try and help her, many promising a miracle only to leave within a week's time. But she can only learn tricks for sweets, but she is sweet by nature until the fire in her spirit combusts. Then she could take out the whole kingdom." I looked to her rocking on her mattress. I have seen similar before, but different slightly. Perhaps Harltz knows if it is the same. The king looked over to her. "I would die before I would let a Harltz even hear her name." "I just think." The king took my hand and patted it. "My child, that was what destroyed the world more than once, was just a think. It's a dangerous thing us humans have. Let's keep Dita to ourselves. She is happy in her own way and very much loved. She will never know the pains that Harltz can cause." I didn't say any more, but looking to her, I knew I could get her the help. Maybe as time passed I could convince him to let me try. A very short time later, we left, and as we shut the door, Colt stood looking at us. The king looked to the guard who gave him a clean shirt. As the king changed out of the dirty one, I couldn't help but notice his build was very much like Colt's, very well built. The man looked to the king. "He didn't ask anything of me, my king." Colt took my hand. "It is late. We should start early tomorrow, my Snowfeather." I took his hand as the king yawned. "Snowfeather, you say?" "Yes, that is what I call my wife." "It is a herd's tradition." "I see. Yes, it is rather late. You shall find your room at the end of the great hall. Sam, perhaps you would like to stay the night in the throne room. Keep an eye on things. What do you think?" Sam had a toothy grin. "Yes, sir." "Good lad. And as for you, Colt, my son, prince of the kingdom, the room was prepared for a prince and his wife many years ago. wishing your return. May you enjoy it at least for this one night." The king took his arm to show the proper direction. Colt, who seemed to know where he was going. Me, I would have been wandering all the halls for hours. Each door looked the same, dark woods with golden trims, all white walls. Perhaps it was for security, but me, I like more color. Colt, holding to my hand, led the way into the candlelit hall to the very end where the lighting was slightly dimmer, opening the last door that could have been a duplicate to any other. Surely the king had shown him the room when they had talked. He took a look in, checking it carefully with his eyes. Then again, holding to my hand, pulled me in. The room was bright with candles, so much so you would almost forget. There was no electricity. The walls seemed to glow with some sort of fluorescent moss that grew upon them, so lush and green from the walls to the edge of the floors. In the room was a rather extravagant bed, bigger than I had ever seen. One could get lost in it trying to get to the other side. There were silks of red covering it, adorned in gold patterns. There could have been 100 pillows on the bed, all with embroidered decorations and scenes fine enough in detail to be paintings. There was a cradle at the end of the bed with a lion's mane blanket, or so it appeared. Colt went over to the bed, taking off his leather boots and unzipping his leather jacket and white shirt. As he sunk in deep on the edge of it, he looked over to me, the light making his eyes even pierce more, but they were so comforting. I walked closer to him but stopped at the golden cradle. I let my fingers flow over the cold metal. Colt slightly turned his head, almost like a dog when they were curious, which I always found to be his cutest look. He didn't need to speak. They really were hoping for your return, weren't they? This room alone shows how much he cared for you. He sniffed slightly, holding his hand out as I went over to him, and sat down. More like needed. With a tired breath, he plopped backwards. Didn't Marshall use you the same way? I mean, he needed you to." Colt looked to me. "I think most men with power would do similar. I know what you mean. I hold nothing against either of them for it, but it's still the truth you speak." He let out a deep breath, both arms on the back of his head, looking over to me. His abs were always so chiseled, you would think someone had sculpted them by hand when he laid this way, and it was hard to keep my mind on the conversation, and by now I'm sure he was doing it on purpose. "Nothing, just a lot going through my head." "You're not thinking about moving here, are you?" Colt slightly looked up. "Is that something you would want?" "No, of course not, but I mean if it's what you would want, it's at least something I'd consider. How can the great stallion of the herd become a lion?" "Who would care for the herd?" he asked with so much confusion. "I think you were always a lion, my love, but you also became a great stallion. As for the people, they would find another. It's not like we are guaranteed our next day. Life moves on with or without us." I was born from this, but is it me? I know nothing more than what I was taught by your father, and I know he would understand any choice you wish to make. I know our children would be just as happy here, maybe more so, but it would be a choice you would have to decide on yourself. My home is where you are and our family. I laid back as he turned to one arm to look at me. I cannot be two things at once. Our herd needs us. We would be leaving family and friends, all that we know. I knew he was talking about Lavender more than anyone. It's not like we couldn't visit, and there is always Abel. You always said he could be a good stallion. This would be new, but it could also be good. There's family here, too. What are you saying, love? He let his fingers caress my arm. I'm saying only to choose what will make you happiest. There's going to be regrets either way you look at it. His hands were already finding buttons as his lips kissed my neck, sending shivers throughout my body. For now, I choose you. Within seconds, the dress was on the floor. His smirk showed in his eyes looking at mine. I put my hand to his face as he leaned into it, his black hair flowing across my chest, slightly tickling me as I smiled back. So many words I wanted to tell him, but they came out to simply, "I love you. I love you, my snow feather." And with that, the night commenced in purity and silence. I hadn't noticed all the fireflies floating in the air, but they were not green but blue and a single red one. My mind was on other things. Colt relaxed beside me, touching my red curls. As I slowly started to close my eyes, snuggling up to his warm chest, I yawned contently. "It does seem you are getting along with the king at least," I said tiredly. Colt smiled as he pulled me closer. "He is my father, after all." I was trailing off in speech. I felt so tired. I wish there was a way you could be both so you wouldn't have to choose. I was so tired I couldn't hear the rest, but it wouldn't be the first night I had Colt talking to himself before he knew I had fallen asleep. Morning came to the sound of chimes. It felt like a breeze was blowing into the room. Colt was already nearly redressed in new white clothes. He looked even more like the king, but I decided to not say it out loud, even though my mind was screaming it. I was still just wearing a red silk sheet. Colt came over with some folded clothes. "These are for you, love. Did you sleep well?" "Thanks. Come to think of it, yeah, well, at least as much as you would let me sleep." I shoved his arm with mine. What can I help that when a beautiful woman is my wife, purposefully lays next to me every night? "Oh, hush. Besides, it's not like I'm special. There's tons of me here." His face grew almost stern as he held my arms to see me straight on. His eyes were glaring now. "Listen here, I only find you beautiful. I could find you if there was 1,000 here. None of them are you. They are them, and you are my radiant wife and mother to our children." "I know," I said humbly, as he kissed my cheek then hand. "Better get dressed. I'm not sure what time morning starts, but I assume early." With that, I began to dress. The clothes were thick but light, being all white. I was glad my bleeding had stopped from the birth of Lyra. But why in the world was white the chosen color? I knew myself well enough they were going to get so dirty. The boots were a perfect fit. At the same time, they were white. Clearly, camo was not on the board. But why? Perhaps there was no need when you had lions as guards. "You look lovely." Colt's eyes were looking me up and down with his arms crossed. "And what about you? I mean, look at you. But not really traveling clothes, are they?" Colt looked down to himself. There seemed to be some sadness. "Yeah, look at me. Fit to be a prince. I'm not sure these people travel much outside the bridge. People seem to come to them." "Hey, just because you are wearing this doesn't change who you are. You will always be Colt, son of the great stallion, but it's okay to have a second father who clearly loves and cares for you, though he has never seen you before now. It just so happens he is a king of lions, so I guess traveling is normally not a need." Colt kissed my forehead. "What would I do without you? The question is, what will you do with me? It seems a bit contradictory for you to have just gotten dressed to make you redress, so I best hold myself together till another night." "I don't mind if you don't." I wrapped my arms around his neck, but just as we were about to kiss, a bang came to the door. "My prince, breakfast is ready." Colt looked to the door. "We will be right out." Under his breath, he whispered in my ear, "Best not keep them waiting." "But what about me?" I giggled slightly. "Don't tempt me, my love. You know how hard it is to say no to you." He kissed my neck. "All right," I said with some disappointment, but the truth was, Colt was simply stunning in his new white clothes. It would have almost been a shame to get them dirty. Almost. We left the room slowly, giving it one last look before closing the door, not knowing if it would be seen by us again. We could smell the spices cooking for breakfast. Smells good," I whispered to Colt, who nodded in agreement. I grabbed his hand in mine as we came to the open throne room again. Platters of silver and gold laid about, some adorned jewels. The king sat in his place with Sam by his side. They seemed to be having quite a conversation, but soon as the king saw us, he stood. The room fell quiet. I noticed not one plate had been touched, making me feel somewhat guilty about making them wait. The king welcomed us in. "I hope your night was a fair one, and the morning a bright one." "I see the clothes fit well. This pleases me. We should make an early start of it. If you are prepared to go, we shall after this fine meal to warm our spirits."